Welcome to Relics Radio, your favorite weekly podcast dedicated to the metal detecting and treasure hunting community. Here are your hosts, Ken from Adventures in Dirt and Tony from 5280 Adventures.
Hey everyone, DK here from Adventures in Dirt, and welcome to another Relics Radio podcast, another Thursday night right here. Where are we? We're on 5280 Adventures YouTube channel. We're over on the Relics Radio Facebook group, and we're also on my personal Facebook page over at Ken King. Good to see everyone. I see people rolling into the chat, and I just want to welcome you to another Relics Radio. Really looking forward to tonight's show. We've got a great couple of guests lined up for us right now. First thing I want to do is I want to introduce my co-host. You know him as Mr. 5280 Adventures. Pretty good. He's got his own theme music. I got to get some of that. Tony, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you, man?
We're doing good.
What's new? How's things going? I mean, we always talk about a couple things, right? Weather.
Yeah.
How's the weather up north in Colorado right now?
Weather up north is pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
It's a little cool in the evenings. Like we already have our garden started in as seeds and sprouts and little
cups and stuff.
Yes, in cups underneath
Seedlings,
lights
yeah.
and stuff. So seedlings. So we're starting all that up already. We're looking forward to planting a big garden this year, and the weather's looking like it's participating and being pretty good up here. How about you down south?
You guys killed it last year in your garden, man.
Yeah.
I wish we were closer. We could. You know what? We could be self-sufficient. I've got the meat and the eggs, and you've got the vegetables.
Shoot,
man, we're eating good in Colorado.
You know what we need to do is just meet in the middle somewhere, go do some of those escape rooms we used to do together, get the wives together, swap out the meat and the veggies.
Food. I'm all for that.
That's
oh my
good.
gosh.
That's good.
No, hey, weather down south, I tell you, is like it was high 60s today, I think. It was beautiful. I was on a t-shirt, taking care of chickens and run around wishing I could go metal detecting. I'm not going to get out this weekend. I think you're going though, aren't you?
I am. I probably can only do about a half day, but yeah, I'm heading out this weekend. You're going to go shoot some things, aren't you? Are you looking for a turkey
we got
weekend?
Turkey opener Saturday morning. So I'll be out there bright and early. Actually, not bright. It's going to be dark and early.
Yeah, you get going early, don't you? Real early.
Yeah, we got to meet at 4:00 at the trailhead and hike in and hopefully catch them before they come out of the roost and see what we can get on, of course. Yeah.
We're going to that field of gold coins this weekend. So,
really?
Sorry you won't be able to join us.
Shoot. Yeah, I wanted to bring up chickens real quick. I went to the auction. Sold off 5 roosters. Got rid of our roosters. So we're down to 105 now.
You're thinning the herd.
Yeah, thinning the flock out. Yeah, we're down to 105, and we're getting almost 5 dozen eggs a day. So
shoot, that's a lot, man.
It's a good time. All my chicks dig me, man.
Chicks do dig you. I always see those videos. You walk out with those little worms. They all come running. Not saying you got little worms, but you know what I'm saying.
No, yeah.
Who do you see showing up in the chat? We got a lot of people joining us.
Gosh.
Tonight. Welcome, everybody.
Metal detecting war relics over in England.
It's like 1:00 in the morning over there.
I know. 546 came on the YouTube channel, just said, hey, good morning from England. Great to see you. Thanks for coming on. Always love to have having you join us from across the pond. Mr. Bill Hayes checked in a little bit early.
What's up, Bill?
Bill's always here. Mark Thomas. Welcome in, Mark. And you can't have one Bill without the other. Ohio Relic Hunter also joining us.
Hello, Bill.
Who else popped in here?
Oh, I was looking through it. I saw
Finding America.
Finding America. Greg's in there. Ram detecting. What's going on, buddy?
There we go.
Good to see you. All kinds of good people joined us. Dirt Clod, metal detecting. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Relics Radio. Looking forward to tonight's show, man. I've been wanting to talk to these guys. We've kept rescheduling because I've been wanting to talk to them, and we just wanted to make sure we got on the same page. Why don't we go ahead and bring our guests in, and we'll get that going.
Yeah, tonight we're very lucky. We're on season 7, episode 18 of Relics Radio here, and we've got Chandler Bos and Tobias of VC Variety YouTube channel. That's where you
Yeah.
guys. I mean, that's where we all know everybody from, and dig in the Midwest. They're out there in Michigan, right, guys?
Out in Michigan.
Welcome on. First off, welcome to Relics Radio. Appreciate you guys coming on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
What's up, Chandler? Brian, good to see you guys. How you doing, Chandler? Man, it's been a while. So we I've been watching your channel for a while. I know you've been kind of doing some other things lately, which we'll get into a little bit later. But how are things in Michigan? Like, what's the weather like there?
It's been a pretty pleasant week, honestly. We had some cold weather that came in for the last couple of weeks. February was really nice. We were able to dig all 12 months, which we don't get to do all the time in Michigan, but we've been spoiled this year. And next week it's supposed to be in the 70s, maybe even come close to 80 a couple days. So we're really looking forward to that. Field season is about wrapping up for me. I live down near the Indiana border, so I'm about as far south in Michigan as you can get. Brian's a little further north. He's probably got a little bit more time in the fields than I do, but most of my farmers are spreading the good stuff, the money smell out in the fields already.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
that doesn't keep me off the field.
It does me. It does me.
I grew up a farm boy, so I've smelled it all.
Yeah, like it smells like money, man.
I put my muck boots on and go.
Sure. Yeah. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So you guys are kind of like Tony and I, where Tony's down south Colorado and I'm a little further up north in Colorado. And so you guys usually meet in the middle when you guys detect a lot together, or you have in the past, right?
Yeah, we have a lot. We're kind of from like the West Michigan area. We both used to detect a lot up there, just in separate places, and we've done a lot of meeting in the middle. I've had him down a few times closer to me, and we've done it up by him too. It's we'll go anywhere to metal detect with each other.
Do you guys like try to divide and conquer? Like, North will get a whole bunch of permissions, South will get permissions. You guys kind of exchange them out, and that way you kind of cover the whole side of Michigan there. That's the idea.
Yeah, the dynamics changed a little bit. He moved a
Sure.
little further south. Originally, when we first met, we were in the same general vicinity, and we we're kind of competing for territories. Yeah, and funny story. I wound up on a permission I had, standing permission for like, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years. And one of the VC group, friend of ours, was out there, and I show up on the field. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who his wife is out there with him. And so we start talking, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know you guys, and so he's like, well, yeah, Chandler wants to meet you. So it sprung from there. And Chandler and I have kind of a similar attack as far as research, map building. We use Maprica a lot.
What do you use, Brian? Maprica?
Maprica, yeah. And I'm really into the history to begin with, and maps and that. So I feel like it's a skill I have to go in and find those old maps and line them up and know the waypoints and that sort of thing. And he does the same thing. He's very organized at that, as far as building that list and then following up on, door knocking and permissions. And that's really, at least for us, and I think it's for everybody, that's the meat of what we do as a hobby. Right. If you don't have the permission, you're not getting on the property. So
amen to that.
I tell people that are newly coming into the hobby, be prepared if you want to do this hobby right and get, real productivity out of it, so to speak, and find things. You've got to put 70% of your time into research. You're probably going to be out there 30% of the time in the field.
Isn't that funny how new people come in and they're on the public areas, the parks and those kind of different things, and then you get these messages and they're like, at least for Ken and I, where did you find something like that in Colorado? And the answer is you have to do the research. This isn't back in 1970 where you can go to those parks and find those things. Nobody else is around. They heard of a metal detector back in the war looking for mines, but never thought about using it recreationally. It has to stem from the research and putting boots on the ground and knowing your area, getting them permissions, door knocking, all of that hard work. Like you said, 70% of the time you're doing all that background before you're even turning on the machine yet.
Yeah.
Now, have you guys always been into history, Chandler? Were you always into history, or is that something that kind of you got an interest in after you got into this hobby?
No, I always was into it. It's funny. I can remember being a kid and going to, like Walmart with my mom, right? Just a young 6 to 10-year-old kid, seeing a metal detector and going, I really want one of those. And then, I'm like, hey, Mom, could you want to? Of course not. Couldn't, nothing bad about Mom. Just it wasn't something that we ever needed as kids. And so finally, I think I was probably like 20 or 21. I was like, what the heck am I doing? I'm an adult. I've always wanted to try this. I'm buying one. And it just spiraled from there. And now it's a full-blown obsession.
Yeah. How about you, Brian? Always into history, or?
So in the area where I live, I was fortunate enough that I lived in the country, in the adjoining field, which was my family's also. It was my great uncle's. It was known that was a Native American campsite for thousands of years. Stream ran or creek ran through it, and I actually was way into the Native American history. Started out looking for artifacts in that field. I've probably got, I don't know, 600-700 artifacts, that I found.
Wow.
I started out when I was 10.
Wow.
And in that field, it had so much history from settlers, through the years. I'd find a crotal bell once in a while. I'd find an axe head, just on the surface. And I remember telling my grandfather, it'd be nice to find more of this. And he's like, he pulls out this old Jetco, I think it's a Jetco Maverick. I still have it. He's like, here, increase your odds. Go use this thing. And I never looked back. At that point, I was 15. I'm 51 now. So I've been metal detecting and, getting into the history of the areas for, 35 plus years. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once I kind of tell the story all the time, but once I found out some of the land we can detect on, the permissions we have, actually had Native American artifacts to find, or like petrified wood. It took on a whole new thing because my eyes are going one way, my ears are going another, and it opened up a lot more excitement to me because I was like, you're kidding, I can actually find that here. And sure enough, you start finding things, once you got to look and then you'll find. But very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So yeah, for me, I guess it was, I wasn't interested in history at all. I never had family or teachers that made it interesting to me. So, and when I started getting the metal tech and realized, I thought it was all about these things you would find, these things these treasures, right? And quickly, it turned into an obsession about research, finding out about places, where was the circus? Where was this in my town? And then figuring out how to get permissions on all those things. So, and then once you start finding things, you start doing the research, and that, invigorates your learning for history. And so that's cool that you guys had it from an early age. That is really cool.
Yeah, you're right about it. Just kind of going and continuing. It's kind of just, the more you do it, the bigger the snowball gets, right? It's like you can't stop. At least for me, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely. Yeah, Brian, you had mentioned the Jetco. What machines have you used up through the years then?
Oh boy.
If you can remember.
Jetco, several of the Garrett machines. In fact, my most recent Garrett was the AT Pro for years, just before I went to the DS1, and that's kind of where I've stayed right now. Sure. I'm kind of in a quandary. I don't know what I want to buy next, and the DS is working so well for me, and I still use the Garrett AT occasionally. I still use my White's Spectrum. I've used so many different ones. I've made my friend very rich at his store.
Yeah, you said your friends was one of the last sort of brick and mortar type walk-in stores in Michigan.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's his, and then I think there's a few on the east side of Michigan. But pretty much everybody's went to online storefronts. So
yeah, they're disappearing for sure.
Yeah.
We had one here in Golden that was here forever. He belongs to our club called Golden Detectors, and he was been around for all of it. And great guy, Bill, Spectrum Bill, and he sold the shop. How many years ago now, Tony? About 4 or 5 years ago.
It's been a couple.
Now?
Yeah.
But How about you, Chandler? What are you swinging, or how many machines have you kind of come up with? Can you remember your first one?
Yeah, my first one was an Ace 300. I kind of bought that just to kind of get my feet wet, to be like, am I really going to enjoy this as much as I think I'm going to? Ran with that for probably 2 or 3 months, and then it was coming into winter. And so I was like, you know what, let's upgrade a little bit. So I went with an AT Pro after that. That kind of seemed like the best bang for the buck. A couple other people that I knew had the Noxes. I wanted to keep more of that, Garrett VDI scale, because that was what I was comfortable with. I didn't want to have to relearn a new VDI scale, relearn a whole new machine. And I ran with that all the way from 2018 to 2022 when the Deus 2 came out. I wanted to upgrade to a Deus 1, but then I kind of heard the rumblings from one of the XP guys that, hey, XP is coming out with a new machine. And I was like, well, okay, I'll just wait a year or two then. I'm finding enough as it is. I'll just wait till that other machine comes out. And it's literally, I got a text from like, hey, we can pre-order these. I was like, get me one. I don't care. Put my name on the list. And so that was what I did. And I still use the Deus 2.
Yeah. Great machine.
Man, I'm sitting around 3 guys that use the Deus products here. I'm like the odd man out over here.
That's all right.
It's funny.
You got no slouch of machine. You're kicking my butt all the time with that Manticore.
What's funny, Chandler, is I almost took the same exact route. I actually started with the Ace 250. Same exact reason. Hey, am I really going to enjoy it? I'm not going to sink too much money into it, but let me just try it out. I was absolutely hooked with it. Went to the AT Pro. I won an AT Gold at a metal detecting event. I started using that. Went to the Ace Apex, and then heard grumblings about a new machine coming out to kind of rival the Deus and Deus 2. And Ken and I were over at a hunt in Oklahoma and got to meet Debbie from Mine Lab out there, and she had the Manicore out there. We got to swing it, and I came home from Oklahoma, ordered it up. And I think it arrived like a couple weeks before Ken and I went to England. I think I turned it on once outside, never swung it, didn't even dig anything with it before going all the way over to England with the Manicore. Yeah, talk about a learning curve, going from Garrett all the way up to the the Manicore. But over there, you're digging anything that has any sort of tone to it. So
right.
I learned a lot in a week about that, and then coming back here and relearning, the U.S. soil relics versus the England soil and relics. But same idea. It's kind of funny. That's one of the questions we generally ask a lot of the guests is, where did you start out from? What did you evolve to? A lot of people are all, starting with the Ace series and kind of going up a little bit to the AT, and then all of a sudden now, we've all moved to the Deus, to the Nox, to the Manicore. All those kind of different things. So,
yep. My father-in-law has recently wanted to get into this. So this fall he's been out or this spring, I should say, he's been out a couple times. So he has the Nox 900 right now. So I'm trying to figure that machine out on the fly so I can help him out if he needs it, which he's got the hang of it pretty good. I will give him some mad props because I didn't help him buy it or anything. He's just like, hey, I bought this. When are we going out? I'm like, cool, let's go. And I was like, I was a little worried about what he was going to get. Right. And then I'm like, wow, the 900. Okay, we're just jumping into it. All right, here we go.
Let's go for it.
I'm ready.
And nothing's going to replace time behind the machine too. Right. So you just got to get out. I think I had heard somebody say, you're not going to really understand the machine unless you have 10,000 hours behind it, and then you really understand it. You can be able to start getting into those things that everybody else has been missing for so long. So put in and you also don't have bad habits. You don't have bad tones that you've been hearing on other machines and things like that. If he's starting it right out with the Nox, he's just running.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I don't know about you guys,
good
but
for him.
Like to your point, I don't even use the screen for the Deus 2 anymore because those clips broke they can. And so I just throw it in the front pouch of my Gray Ghost bag. And I mean, you know what the tones are after so long. Anything that's like a 50 or higher, it's getting dug pretty much no matter what. So
sure.
Yeah. Tony mentioned it was kind of funny when we both went to England. He had just got the Manticore and I had just got the Legend. So we both were in England with brand new machines.
Wow.
And we're making typical beginner mistakes with them,
Absolutely.
I made the worst one, of course. Like I couldn't figure out how to turn the volume up on my headphones. So I'm standing 12 feet away from Tony, and I hear his machine going bonk, 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 just slamming on signals. And I'm like, God, this Legend just doesn't get any higher. It was like beep, 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 beep. But I wanted it to really scream at me and stuff. And so we're looking at the machine. I got all the volumes up, looking at my darn headphones. I'm taking them off to look at them. Finally, Tony's like, there's this little sticker right here, Ken. Yeah, push this button. So, new machines.
And after that, I never saw you again, man. You were off digging all kinds of targets.
It sounded so sweet after that.
He was gone. He said, I'm doing it now.
Have either of you guys been able to dig over in England yet? No. Is that something that you guys are interested in doing? Brian's shaking his
less
head.
high on my list than it is Brian's.
Sure.
Yeah.
Again, it's the history, I think, for me. And I mean, the opportunity is great and all, and the stuff you can find, but it's just such a far deeper history over there. So
yeah,
that appeals to me.
And
you guys brought up something earlier, like the relics and finding that and coins, and I don't know, maybe Chandler feels the same way. It's like we haven't dug every single bucket lister, but I've dug enough stuff that like now to me, I look at targets as coins, which are static to me, and relics. Because you dig so many silver seeded dimes. Yeah, that's great, but it doesn't really tell you any story. It's the things that like the relics that you can go look up on Google, and it's like this company that was founded in this time period, and there's this story for the owner, and all these little rabbit holes you go down to. You're not going to get that with a coin generally. So at 51, I think I came to the epiphany that it's great to dig coins. It's always going to be great to dig coins, but the relics is where the fun is afterwards, So
same with you, Chandler. Would you consider yourself a bigger fan of relic hunting, or do you still love to find the big whammy coins?
It's such a hard question because one of the guys who I also hunt with regularly, who's a little bit more local to me, he's just pure coins. He's like, if we're not finding seededs and largies, he's like, whatever. But for me, we were on a site last night, him and I were, that was demoed 30 years ago. And we were there for an hour and a half, and I found a wheat penny and a Merc dime, which I love digging those. I love those different sites because you just don't know what you're going to find. And since I haven't been detecting, for 30 years, like Brian has, there are still coins on my bucket list, and there are still, different coins for me that get me excited. But it's really cliche to say I love to dig it all, but I really, really do. I love the personal stories that you can find with relics, and which actually I just met with a farmer this weekend whose permissions I've had for probably a little over a year now, maybe 2 years. Time flies, but I did his great grandfather's home site without even knowing it. And so I asked the family last week, I was like, hey, did you guys have any relatives over here? And they're like, oh yeah, my great grandfather's homestead was over here. One of the things I found there was a bracelet that said Emma on it. And I was like, okay, cool. That's really neat. That's a cool bracelet. Awesome piece. And so that was what kind of led me to ask. I was like, hey, do you know who this person is? And he's like, oh, that was my great grandmother. That could be my aunt. And we're just down the rabbit hole, right? And they had me up for dinner on Sunday just to talk about everything that I found up there. I mean, the nicest people in the world. I can't say enough good things about them, right? But something like that sort of an experience, like Brian said, tells stories that we don't know. It ties us to other people, right? They have a picture of her on their wall in their house, and they're like, hey, this was hers. You can't get that from a coin, like he said. So while it is amazing to, dig all the different coins, you don't get that.
I know what you can get from that. Goosebumps. I just got goosebumps telling that story.
And I've had the footage on my camera I haven't put out a video in almost 2 years, just like you had been said, doing a couple other things. But I got home and just bang, I quick hammered that video out. It was going to be like a 30-minute video. So I was like, that's too long. Now I got to split it up into 2 parts. And it's just wild how it can go. And I got more permissions out of it. So that's always good too.
Bang, bang. That's a grand slam there. How about Brian? Have you had any kind of, it's always the question I ask Chandler is I always ask if you ever got a chance to detect any of your ancestral lands and stuff. Another question I asked is, have you done any return stories? And you just knocked 2 of them out right there.
Yeah, I would.
Similar.
Well, yeah, actually, when Chandler and I were both in the same area of detection, he's going to know it right away because it was a site he wanted to hit for a long time, and I slid in there before we met, pretty much. And
he did.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what one you're talking about.
It was a site that the first day on it, I came off the field with like 15 coins, like large cents, shields, fatties, you name it, and hit it quite a few times. And it was really a kind of a twofer because the corner of the site had been a schoolhouse site, and the other was the residential. Well, the residential site was a family that it was gone before the 1890 plat. They'd all died basically from an epidemic, and they were buried in the fence row of the property still to this day.
Wow.
Supposedly. So I detected it a long time. Well, one day I was over by the schoolhouse and dug up a gold class ring. And it was from, I think it was 1968. Proceeded to kind of post it around the area. In fact, one of the guys that's a friend of ours that kind of started one of our Facebook pages that were, a group of people. We all know each other and detect together. He farmed it out to the area because he was from where she came from, because you're able to look at the ring and say it was from this high school. I found the lady. She lives in New York. She was tickled. She's like my best friend for life from that point on. To her, she sends me stuff for Christmas. Come to find out, she was working co-op in high school at one of the psychiatric hospitals, and it fell down the sink. And what I was able to piece together is it went into the sewer, and in Michigan, you're actually able to spread human treated manure on the fields. And they spread it 20 miles away on this field, and that ring was in that sewage.
Oh my gosh.
Of all the things,
things.
the only thing we could figure out, because I thought, well, maybe she was out there, a young lady, they're out parking in the field, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I left it down the sink. So there's that.
Wow.
A couple other, just minor returns, rings and stuff. I am a member of the Ring Finders Network, but we don't get a lot of calls around here unless it's like in the water, it seems like, and I don't dive or any of that. But ancestral land, in fact, like Chandler said, we were able to dig pretty much all 12 months this last year. And I think it was right in the middle of December, we had a thaw. And I found out that my actual great-great-great-great-grandfather's homestead was on property that I've driven by my whole life down here. And I got the permission for it, went out there. I didn't find a lot. I did find like a silver barber or something, or early mercury and some other relics. I found one of my first, believe it or not, I don't have a lot of them, heart heel plates, So then everybody's asking me, well, what did your grandmother do for a living? But anyway, that's a myth as far as I'm concerned. And
a logical question.
That and garter belt,
Yeah.
It's so cool because in that particular circumstance, number one, I didn't know that was there all these years. And my own father didn't know that. My grandfather never told me that. And I did all the genealogy, verification back through and found out that's where the original, ancestor that settled here came from. That's where he was at. And I actually have a picture of them sitting on the porch of the house that sat there.
Oh,
so that's
wow.
kind of a goosebump feeling, when you're like, get on the site, you're like, wow,
Yeah.
That's way cool.
Yeah. So I'm going back out there, now that it's nice. It wasn't as nice. It was pretty wet the day I was there. So
kind of like today.
Yeah, I like today. It's rained all day here.
Has it?
Yes.
I saw the Facebook comment there. I did give the bracelet back to them. And then I gave them 2 Indian head pennies that I found on the property as well, and a 1903 township dog tag that I had found.
Very nice.
I did
Wow.
send you guys the picture of that bracelet if you wanted to show it. You don't have to, but I did send it to you guys if you want to slap it up there.
Do you have it, Tony? I don't have it.
No.
Did you put it on the Facebook?
I put it in the group chat. Yeah.
Gotcha. I'll take a look at it.
You're better. You're better doing that.
Oh, very cool. Here, hold on. Let me share this. You can see what he's talking about.
Okay.
Oh, we are professionals. Let me tell you. Here we go. Tell us about this.
Yeah. So that was the bracelet that I found, and I'm still not 100% sure who it belonged to, because he said back in the late 1800s, the great-great-grandmother, the great-great-great-grandmother, whoever it was, her name was Emma. And then they had a daughter who would have been his aunt or something like that, born in the 19s era, whose name was Emma May, because Emma died really early in her early 30s after some complications with childbirth, I believe. Yeah. The material honestly looks like it would be more that teens, 20s to 30s era. But I don't know for sure. And I polished it up as good as I could. That was after I found it, before I knew what it was, knew what the significance of it was. I tried to clean it up as best I could a couple of nights ago before I brought it back up to him. But that was the bracelet.
Describe that, Tony, for our audio listeners.
Yeah, it's I mean, it looks like, I think, like what you said, early teens. It'd be 1900s, I would think. But yeah, it's an ID bracelet. Has the cursive Emma written across the front of it. Big not a big chain, but a chain. It's those the ID bracelets that you'd be wearing. I mean, does it seem like it was a younger, or was it more of like a teens, 20s kind of person that would be wearing it? Is it?
My first thought is it wasn't very big. So my first thought it could be more of a kid's one, but then
right.
The wife of one of the younger people in the family, who's probably, I don't know, 5-6 years older than I am, it fit on her wrist. So if there had been actual clasps on it, she could have worn it present day, and it would have fit her just fine. So
what did the family think and say? And was it just that feeling of being able to connect back to history, right?
Yeah. I mean, they were blown away. I mean, that find right there. Well, actually, the find that I was actually inquiring about was a gold ring. I had found it on the next homestead over, and it had initials in it, but I knew that wasn't their family homestead. But I was thinking, hey, maybe they know the people who were there. Or at the time when I asked that question, I didn't know where their homestead from the family was. So that was why I asked about the gold ring. I was like, hey, do you have anyone who lived here? Because I didn't want to give it back. But if that was like, oh yeah, my that's been in the family for years. My grandma was named it had initials LH. I was like, well, you'll never believe what I found. You know what I mean? But I said, oh, okay. After I found out where their homestead was, I found this Emma bracelet there. What does that mean to you guys? And it just lit up.
Right away.
Oh, well, it means this, that. And I was like, whoa. And that was actually all over the phone. And then I went up there and showed it to him in person and everything like that. So
that's
very cool.
What a great story.
It is.
I know, it's just something that I wouldn't have even thought to ask you about, right? Had I not been thinking about, the initials on that ring. Because, we find bracelets all the time. A lot of times they can be junky, even if they have a name on them, right? The chances of it being relatively important and relevant to where you are usually are pretty slim. But to have that verify like that is just, I love it. Absolutely love it.
So cool.
Yeah,
so cool.
8 acres in Kansas, family land, great grandfather and grandmother, who of course I never met. It's kind of where my dad kind of was born and grew up, and kind of thinking about going out there. I got permission to go hunt it. I just haven't made the trip yet. It's only about 7 hours away or 10 hours away, but same thing. If I ever found something that had a K on it, or King, or David, or something like that, it'd be like, holy cow. That'd be it. That'd be it for me. I think that's really top of my bucket list, to find something from some of my ancestral lands that I can tie to the family,
Yep.
We came close.
I found a pocket watch too, but I can't find where I put it now. I don't think I threw it away because all my junk buckets are in the basement waiting for me to go through them. So I'm sure it's in there. But the guy, he's like, see if it has initials in the back. And I was like, oh, why didn't I look when I cleaned it up? What was I doing? Because if that was like his great grandfather's pocket watch or something, that would just be the icing on the cake.
Yeah. That's great.
Do you guys display your finds? I see you have kind of a display case behind you, Chandler. How about you, Brian?
I do. The stuff you see behind me is my work area where I clean everything, sort it, restore it, whatever. But in front of me, I've got a big case like I see Tony has, full of stuff. I've got a huge coffee table. I've got one of the printer trays like Chandler's got, full of stuff. That's my project this year, is probably getting that more up to speed. I just recently moved houses, so trying to figure out where to put everything. Chandler, I hope you've got a prenup for the boxes and bags and stuff of junk.
It's got it all filled out already.
Yeah. What you see behind, sorry, my camera's mirrored on this side. Brittany actually likes the print tray, so that's like her stuff in there. Any skeleton keys I find, but the let's see here. Okay, I got the right way. The display case on the wall there. That's, absolutely, like, it's too small at this point in time,
right?
To be honest with you, but that's full of all my coins and good relics.
Isn't that a bad problem to have? You're growing out of relic cases. You need to upsize now or grab another one.
Yeah, it is.
Horrible problem.
It is. It's inconvenient to have to go cabinet shopping all the time. Let me tell you.
I'm always looking at Facebook Marketplace. People are selling cabinets, different kinds of cabinets and stuff, and some are even free. I just haven't jumped and gotten another one yet. But same idea. I'm always looking on Marketplace for something for relics and hang on the wall like you did there. And for sure.
Yeah, for sure. You were talking about relics versus coins and stuff. I know Tony and I were pretty much firmly relic hunters. Yeah. And because of that, we don't find a lot of coins. But when you do, it's twice as special, because you're looking for relics and all of a sudden like a half-dime comes up or something. You're like, especially if it's
how do you even react?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We just don't find a lot of coins, but when we do, it's pretty cool. We try to find them old here if we can, but
you guys have been doing pretty good at that recently.
Yeah, we've had some really good luck just because of the permissions and the property we've been hunting,
Again, going back to research though, if you're on an old spot, you're going to increase your odds, obviously, of finding old stuff.
And then there's just dumb luck.
Yep. And then there's inches and angles after that.
Inches and angles after that. Yeah, it's always inches and angles. I know. I was lucky enough to find a gold coin, right? So it was on a property that we were just finding old like shells and, Civil War era, like 1850s, 1860s munitions and buttons, eagle buttons and stuff that with the back mark, you can kind of tell the years, at least that they were manufactured. And no coins though. We had been all up and down this trail. It was an old military trail. We were working the whole thing, trying to find where they stopped and find little undiscovered camps. And doing a good job of it, but no coins, no shield nickels, none of that stuff. Maybe a V nickel one time. I think that's all we found. And then out of the blue, $1 gold coin pops up. Just out of the blue, and you're like, "What? How did that happen?" That's just dumb.
In
luck,
spots that have been worked over. I don't know how many people and for how many hours had worked over the area. So amazing.
Crazy.
What about you guys up in Michigan? Have you gotten on any gold coins up there?
Okay.
Brian's
got one? I have one.
Yeah.
Yes. The story about it is actually kind of funny because another guy that Brian used to hunt with, he had permission for that. Sorry if you hear my cat. He had permission for it. It is like the Talladega 500 in here right now, so I apologize for that. Every time I get on the live stream, it's whether it's for this or
I need attention.
Something else. Yeah, it's just racetrack, and I've got a cat tree right here, so they just right up the cat. Anyway, sorry. So another guy that he had metal detected with quite frequently as well had permission for the field, but I don't remember what the story was. You guys couldn't find it, or
I didn't detect it at that point. He had detected it, but he wasn't quite sure where the different sites were. The one in the corner he had hit, but I know yours was a little bit away from ground zero when you found it, I believe. And I don't think he hit that field very hard. And it was kind of funny because after I'd been out there with you, he and I talked, and he's like, "That's where he found it."
Uh-oh.
But it wasn't a sore spot. He was just kind of beside himself that he missed it. So
it was crazy because like up right by the road on the map that we had, it was where it showed the house. And I had been there a couple times previously with my stock coil on the AT Pro. Didn't find much. I think we found like a Merc or something by the telephone pole, and that was like, this site wasn't on any map besides the 1876 one. And so I was like, okay, cool. Farmer dropped a Merc. Woo, move on. And we had upgraded our coils to the bigger coils with the AT Pro. And I went out there one night because this was like right after the COVID pandemic started, when we were kind of not working as much, and you could just metal detect all night. And we went out there with big coils, and all of a sudden, just bang, we hit a largie. Bang, we started hitting Indians. Bang, we started hitting Civil War tokens. We were like, what is this field? We've been here like 6 times. Who's planting stuff? Where did all this come from? And my buddy who I was with, he popped his first largie, and like 10 minutes later, I dug a signal, and I mean, it wasn't even a great signal, but it was like a gold signal on the AT Pro, and I couldn't find it for a little bit. Pulled a couple nails out, still in there, okay. Pull a clump of dirt out, and it's fully in this clump of dirt, and I'm like, I had my pinpointer resting on it, and I just saw the reeded edge of the gold coin, and I just screamed at my buddy. I was like, you need to get the expletive camera right now. He's like, oh, Chandler's got silver, and then I showed it to him. I was like, that is not silver, and it ended up being a 1836 British sovereign gold coin, and
Ooh.
It comes out. It's just in immaculate condition. It's beautiful.
Well,
I thought I hit it initially.
You shouldn't describe it. Why don't we just watch it?
Sure. Yeah.
There we go.
Ooh.
It's windy out there.
I hope you guys can hear it because I can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
No, I don't have any volume, but that's okay. We can describe it.
When we share it, doesn't it? Hold on, let me start this over again. I think when we share it, it's got to do something, right?
Oh, yeah.
Click a button or something to share
Somebody mentioned that
audio.
last time.
Share a tab screen instead. Gotcha.
All right.
All right. Sorry about that.
Try that again.
We'll put that up somewhere else.
I'll edit that out in post. Don't worry.
We are professionals here. So, what did it say? A tab screen? Oh, you stare at a tab or a screen instead. I got you. So instead of doing a window, I'm going to do a tab.
There you go.
Select the tab.
So it's a beautiful coin. I can tell you that. I'll rock for it.
It is a beautiful coin.
And here we go. And still no audio.
No
Yeah,
sound.
still no
There
audio.
it is. Can you hear it now?
Mm-mm.
No. Well, it's not working. You want to just watch it? Look at that coin. Can you guys see that?
Wow.
I'll turn the volume off. All right, tell us what you're feeling.
Old American coin. It's fairly decent size.
Yeah.
Chandler, you can narrate here. Here we go. Tell us what we're seeing.
It was just pure insanity kind of right here. I'm like, is this really happening? So what you can't hear my buddy Nick, he's going, no, that's a token. No way. That's not a gold coin. I couldn't even think straight. I got roasted for this in the comments and on Facebook and YouTube. They're like, oh, he brushed dirt off a gold coin without water. It's like, couldn't even see my own hand at that point in time. I was just kind of blacked out. And then we couldn't figure out what it was because it's not American.
Right.
There's no eagle on it. There's no Native American on it. I was so focused on the year being 1836, and then I remembered I wanted to get the water on it. But there's just no words to describe. I mean, what it was like. It was just.
What's the size of it?
It's about the size of a quarter. I could
quarter, right?
A quarter.
Yeah, it's the size of a quarter.
Yeah.
Were you there that day, Brian?
No, and this was before Chandler and I met, I believe.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, this was before we had met. I have a I have a picture of what it looks like in the dirt clump here when this is done rolling. I'll show it through my camera if I can find it. But yeah, we couldn't figure out what it was because it had, I can't even remember who the dude is now, but it had him on the back and some intricate shield design on the front. And that's why Nick was like, oh, I think it's a token. And I'm like, it's not a token, dude. You gotta believe me on that one. But there's some scratches on it, and I thought I had hit it, but it was in the clump on both sides, so I couldn't have hit it, which is good. And I was kind of poking fun at Brad from the Hoover Boys because I was like, well, I didn't split it into 4 pieces at least.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Oh, that's funny. Excellent. Look at that thing.
Congrats. That's beautiful.
Look at that.
Absolutely beautiful.
1836 sovereign gold coin, King William IV. 1.7 million minted. And it's sitting there in the middle of that huge field, Chandler.
Right.
Just waiting for you to come along with a metal detector and find it. That's just amazing to me.
It is. I mean, I kind of, that was when he's like, I think this is a token. It feels pretty light. I'm like, you're out of your mind, dude. Get out of here.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I'll show this picture. That's what it looked like in the
go.
clump. That gold reeded edge was all I saw when it came out of the hole. And my heart jumped into my throat and it was just pure adrenaline, man. I mean, there's no other feeling like it, seeing something like that.
We just had, who was it, John on the last show.
Yeah.
And he found this huge gold coin out at Dig Stock. Okay. And he was saying, like, your mind just doesn't fathom it.
Right. Can't comprehend it.
You're looking for the, is this silver? Like what? Like he thought his was silver because there was no possibility of ever finding a gold coin. So, plus you don't recognize it. There's no eagle. Like, I'm sure we get it. Like your mind just spins like, what is this?
If you guys want to see it, I can go grab it. It's no trouble. I mean, really, it's just right over there.
I bet. Is it still under your pillow?
It should be. It's
you want me to cut them off, Brian? You want me to cut them off?
Yeah. How much longer do you want me to go, Brian?
We're losing you.
We can dump them in the grain room. Don't worry.
Funny thing, you mentioned that being a big field. There was another site in that field, and we were out there one night, and Chandler's like, I never found that. I'm like, I know where it's at. I found some little pieces of stuff. I know where it's at. It's like, no, we walk out there. He picks up a largie 2 minutes into where I said it was at. So
what the funny part is my other buddy and I, we had tried to find that home site for like 3 hours one night. And he's like, why don't we go look on that hill? And I'm like, dude, look at the map. It doesn't even say it's close to that. Why would it, kind of giving him attitude about it. Right. And Brian's like, oh yeah, it's just right down there. I'm like, oh.
Not to pat myself on the back, but I'm usually right about it. I can read a field.
There you go.
He was spot on, which that night was kind of funny because we were out all night long. I mean, almost till the sun came up the next morning because we just had nothing better to do. And we had 2 cops stop by. What are you guys doing? Spotlight out in the field. We're like, metal detecting. They're like, okay, drive away. It's like,
is this when I first became aware of you, Chandler? Because I think I featured you on my weekly dirt show.
Probably.
This was an amazing find. Hey, Brian, how about your gold coin? What did you end up finding?
I have not found a gold coin.
Oh, I thought you said you had done it. I'm sorry.
No. So I've got one bucket list release out there that is unobtainable at this moment. I mean, it's only been 30-some years. I'll find one.
Right.
Kerry just found his. You're up next, Brian.
It's gotta be.
I saw Dorian Cook. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He posted an article the other day on one of the pages, and it made me crack up. He says, if you want to find gold coins, here's what you do. And basically it was go buy a gold coin, put it in a yard, have your buddy hide it for you, and then run over it. And if you find it, then now you know how to find them. I thought, this has got to be a joke,
No.
So you only have to spend $2,000, to find one. So hopefully,
you know what?
Easier.
It's digging the tones that sound like buttons and bullets. I mean, it's bad as it sounds. I mean, when I first started out, I always wanted to dig the high tones and find the silver and find silver. And Ken was digging the mid tones and finds rings and finds nickels and I just never really got into it. And all of a sudden, I started trying to dig those mid tones as we got onto more military type of sites because you're going to find the bullets and the lead. And sure enough, I would, it came up just like a button. it's kind of funny. I don't know if you guys have seen my video on it. I found it when we were on the Oregon Trail. I found a $5 gold coin, and I dug so many buttons and so many bullets, and I actually showed my detector, and I went over and it was like 51. I was like, I literally said, "Oh, sounds good enough to dig." And I set up the camera, and I was hammering my shovel into this hole, hammering like a jackhammer at it, right? Not knowing that it's going to be a gold coin. And I pull it out, you're just pulling out shovels of dirt, right? Just being so careless. And all of a sudden then I see it, and it just blew my mind from there. But it sounded just like any other button that I had dug previously in that field.
Yeah.
I was not careful digging for mine either. Just jackhammer in the field trying to find it. And
You don't think you're going to come across it.
no.
I remember Tony, when he found his, he FaceTimed me. I'm at work. He wasn't with me. He was with some other digging partners of his. And I'm at work. And isn't it cool? You can share this excitement with your friends. You know what I mean? And I'm in my office, and he's like, FaceTime, his face pops up. I go, "Hey man, you guys doing any good?" I knew where he was. I knew who he was hunting with. And he's just like shaking his head, like speechless. And he's like, "You're not going to believe it." And he shows me the coin, and I'm like, like really loud in my office, to where when I got off the phone call, like people were coming like, "You all right in here?" I was having a heart attack or something. And I was just like, "Oh my gosh," it was so cool. So fun.
His video screen probably looks like this. He's like, "Yeah, I'm having a really good time out here." Yeah.
That's exactly what it looked like. And then like 3 minutes later, he pops me back, and he pulls up the screen, and he goes, and I'm like, "Did you do it again?" And he shows his friend Zach found his first gold coin, like right 2 minutes later.
We found two.
It shows over to Zach, and Zach's like, "Oh, I got the gold coin."
Like within 10 feet of each other.
Was that sorry.
No, go ahead. What was
that a site that lended itself to the gold coins? I mean, was it an old Stagecoach style? Okay.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't
totally
coincidental. It was
a possibility. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was going to be a possibility.
Yeah.
So it was.
Ironically,
okay, it was Tony's backyard.
Finds.
We got to say it. Go ahead. It's Tony's backyard. His address is.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was just curious.
Detecting Finds is Zach's, who we dig with. It's his uncle.
There you go.
Yeah. He's in the chat over on YouTube right now. So yeah, very cool.
It's a lot of fun, man. Speaking of these cool finds of ours, what's on your bucket list? What each one of you, Brian, why don't you take it first? Like, give me a couple things on your bucket list that you think would be cool.
Well, the gold coin thing, everybody wants to find one of those. Mine, believe it or not, I found all the stuff around it, almost everything around it. Sadly, I have still not found a silver trime.
Oh yeah,
I have, and I've dug several 3-cent nickels, but no silver trime.
No trime. Me neither.
I even dug a 1930s Roosevelt play coin, which is the same size as a trime, a couple months ago.
What was that?
I'm like, this looks like a trime. No, it's a play coin.
What did you think of that? Like, I don't think I've ever seen that. Were you wondering what it is? You're like, what is this?
It's pretty cool. I'd never seen one before, and it looks like actually I could probably grab it. Hold on here.
How about you, Chandler?
I had just within the last month knocked a half dime off my list, and it looks terrible. It was in a fire. I mean, it's like one big melted blob, but you can just see Lady Liberty sitting down on it enough to know that it's a half dime. But the other thing that I've never found that I would really, really like to is just something cap bust. I don't have a cap bust dime, cap bust half dime, cap bust anything. That's probably the biggest thing on my list right now, or some sort of larger silver coin that predates a Walker. I've found a few barber quarters, but I've never found a seated quarter, seated $50, obviously cap bust, anything like that. But I know a couple people who have a few seated quarters, who have a few seated halves, and like a what's the other, what am I looking for? Barber half dollar. That was my buddy's second silver coin ever. He found a Roosevelt and then a Barber half dime. And I'm like, bro.
Yeah, crazy.
But something big and silver and older like that is probably highest with the cat bust.
Yeah.
Anything.
Let's see that. Brian, would you pull up?
Yeah.
Super tiny.
Look at that.
I don't know if I can get the
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
But the sculpt of Roosevelt on this is actually nicer than the dime sculpt.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy
That's
that
so
was
strange.
the engraver designer was pretty renowned. I can't think of the guy's name right now, but he did a lot of things. But yeah, that thing is the exact same diameter as a silver trime.
See, I love finds like that, man. I really do. It's so unique. You know, you don't hear a lot of people finding it. I love unique finds like that. So how about 8 real, Chandler? You want to find an 8 real?
I would be fine with that too. Yeah. I found a real last year at one of my sites here in Michigan. So I mean, I know they're here, but if it's going to be an 8 real, I mean, okay, twist my arm.
There's been a couple of them that have come up recently.
Yeah.
Who last few
Larry.
Larry and Brad.
Yeah, Brad, I think that was actually a friend of his or somebody he was going out with that found it.
Right. I think he got the signal and Brad came over and kind of uncovered it. And same with Loy and Larry. Loy with Digging with 7 and Larry, his buddy Larry, Loy came over and plucked it out. Larry uncovered it, saw the edge of it and said, I don't know what it is. 8 real. That's such a huge honking coin. My gosh.
One of the guys who I used to dig with quite a bit as well, his first 1800s coin was a seated half dollar. Just, you want to talk about the way to just blow into the 1800s scene.
Right.
I mean, can't even fathom that one.
No, that's ridiculous. I just found my first seated coin ever here not too long ago. Because here, like I said, in Colorado, right, we go back to 1850s, and to find those seated coins, it's just not easy, you know. And I never thought I'd find a seated coin in Colorado, just because we don't hunt for coins. They come up very rarely on the sites we are hunting. But we were on a stagecoach stop that had a lot of traffic, so it's one of those home stations that had a lot of traffic. And 1841 seated half dime, man, I was just like blown away. Followed quickly by an 1883 dime. Seated dime, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a great sight. This is a great day. You know how it goes, right? Get done with the hunt and you're like, whew. That was a great day, man, because everyone was hitting stuff, right, Tony?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And ironically, you're talking about a seated quarter. Yeah. One of the other guys. So Ken dug 2 seated. I dug 1 seated half time. Another guy dug a seated quarter, all on the same site. And he also dug 4 shield nickels as well.
Wow.
We pulled out a ton of old coins. We've
tied to the period of the spot we were at too.
Right.
So that's really cool, right? When that happened.
Yeah. And we've been back out on there again. And besides it looking like Swiss cheese, from the area that we were finding stuff, we almost got out there with a sifter, just about. We dug so many holes going back in that same exact spot, and we've been back there maybe 3 more times. And if there's anything left, my gosh, it's going to be a miracle to find.
That's how the field is where I found the gold coin.
Right.
We've probably had 10 to 12 other guys go through that field looking for more stuff.
Yeah.
So cool, man. So where have you guys been? Like, let me ask you, Brian, I see your hat. Do they allow detecting on Mackinac Island? Not at all, right? You can barely skip on Mackinac Island. I think.
I was just there last summer, and everybody's asking me to take your detector. I'm like, no, I'm not stupid. But we were talking about offline Colorado, where you're from. What are the laws like down there? Is it difficult, like other than like private permissions? Is it difficult to find places to detect?
So like up in the mining districts and stuff, you can find places to dig up there. You hike up in the mountains and stuff. If you're in national forests, of course, you got to stay away from that a little bit. If you're in, it all depends on who the land ownership is. If it's BLM land, they suggest like you go talk to the local ranger of the ranger district you're in, and they're always like, yeah, you can detect all you want. You just can't dig anything out. Like, well, what?
Right.
I'm not here for just the tones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It's not illegal to detect. It's just illegal to dig.
yeah. And all the parks, like local parks and stuff, it's all jurisdictional. So there's a couple of towns that say no detecting at all. Others are like, they have these laws where it's like, cannot mar the vegetation. So they have that word mar, cannot mar the vegetation. So what does that mean? Well, we're not marring it. I dare you to find where we've been, Matter of fact, the first time Tony and I ever dug together, met each other on a forums and got together up in Longmont, where I lived here in northern Colorado for a while. Went to this really old park. Got the cops called on us,
Oh, no.
And Tony had even done the legwork to try to get a hold of the beat cops, that was their beat, to try to ask them, make sure it was cool. And they came up and they're just like, they're saying you're out here digging up holes. And we're like, tell us where we've been. If you can see one hole that we've dug, and they're just like, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care,
Karen called on us. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I detected a field last fall that they just plowed going into the winter for whatever reason, turned it over. And I was out there and I had permission. I had a standing permission, and I had 4 different police officers stop 4 different times, seeing what are you doing? Everything okay? You have permission,
Yeah.
That was fine.
Well, you know what though? I feel like if you're allowed to be there, you've got the permission. I don't have a problem with someone, stopping and checking in on you.
Nope.
If they're out there to harass you, and try to push things, and make things not factual about what's going on, then yeah, there's an issue. But yeah, hey, I know. I mean, cops are going to have an interest too, and everybody that comes past is going to. Well, did you find any gold yet? Did you find gold yet?
Find that a chest of gold somewhere. Yeah.
Right.
I know in Denver, if you're in Denver and a couple other cities here in Colorado, you can't use a digging tool. You can use a probe. So everyone has these long screwdrivers. You can use a probe and go down and kind of make a circular and pull out the coin or the ring or whatever. So you're not going to really find any old coins in these parks out here. So they can let you use a probe, but if they ever see you pull out a shovel or pull out a hand digger, they can come up and confiscate your stuff. And so
yeah,
our detecting club we belong to, we're trying to get the word out to a lot of these beginners that are coming in that look, Broomfield, Denver, there's a few other jurisdictions.
Boulder.
Yeah, Boulder, don't take your hand digger out there. Just take a probe and learn how to probe dig. It's like aerating the lawn. Like the aerators are going to do more damage than, we're going to do with a probe. So
you started asking if I guess I'll start places we've been. Actually, I just came back from the dig stock that you mentioned, the gold coin being found. Me and a buddy went down there. I've been to Indiana a couple times, Ohio, but not really a lot out of state as far as detecting goes. I went to a Civil War hunt 2 years ago in Virginia as well. But
digging in Virginia?
Yeah, it was actually one of the actual battlefields that was private property. It was still had the embankments on it. It was the one that the guy found a full Confederate officer's sword in the hilt. So that was like in the last 30 minutes of that weekend. The guy came walking up. It was like Saving Private Ryan. He walked up like he had a body in his hands, like just shell shock. I'm looking at the guy, and I'm like looking in his hands, and he's got this full sword. I'm like, really?
You had to do that?
Yeah, because I hadn't found much. I mean, I probably found more here in Michigan as far as 3 ringers and buttons and whatnot. So. Anyway, it was a fun experience, but
that would be amazing.
Again, you got the razor vine down there and cutso and just everything tromping through that was a little more intense.
Yeah, the razor vine will come up, jump up, and get you all the time.
That stuff is nasty.
DC Diggin in the chat said he was at that one or that awesome sword find. I saw a bayonet come up when I was at digging in Virginia. Some plates, of course, lots of bullets, lots of buttons, J hooks. I found a belt keeper, stuff like that. But boy, did you get in any pits, Brian, when you did that?
No, it wasn't set up that way. And when you go into that, the guy that organizes that, they don't let you know until like 3 days before or whatnot. That one was not an open like area where you'd had the pits. They said they did. A few people did. I know that there was some colonial found when they were doing like a little bit of a pit.
Wow.
Some colonial button type stuff. I don't know that anybody found any coins there. Of course, that's not what you're going for, but no, it wasn't set up like a pit hunt, and that's kind of what I want to do. So hopefully, eventually, I can do one of those.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Chandler, have you what was I going to say? Have you had a chance to dig very many historical sites? Like any kind of like, really, what would you say is like the most historical site? Like Tony and I go, oh, that stagecoach stop. That was probably our most historical site that we've gotten to hunt.
That's a really good question. I did some of the dig stack stuff like Brian was saying. The very first mini one they did in 2021, I think it was. I went down there. That wasn't really too much different than up here. I found a Riel there. That was cool. But I mean, besides that, it wasn't too terrible different than here. There was a place in Nebraska that when I lived out there, I metal detected. I found 2 things with swastikas on them. I really haven't been able to pinpoint them and say they were in the war or they were just good luck charm type stuff. One's a belt buckle and one's like a pin. So could be potentially historic, could just be, regular relics, but I can't think of anything that's really been historical per se. A lot of what I do and what Brian and I do is just old home sites. If we find stuff there, great. Around me, where I am now, there is the potential for more of that, more historic type stuff, but I haven't had any luck getting on them.
What about the train depot up in?
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. That was a great. So that was a spot that the railroad went through, and we call it train station. Sorry if there's more noise. One of my cats is chasing a ball under my feet on paper. Hang on, we're just gonna end that right now. I'm not hanging out with that. Here you go. Hey, here we go, bud. Perfect. That's handled. We call it train station field because there was a train depot that went through there. We don't know if it was like a legitimate stop or not, but there's like different things on the map that said like steam pond or stuff like that. There's a bunch of structures all over the field. We found probably 40 coins there. A buddy of mine pulled out the only 1700s coin I've seen come out of Michigan. It was a 1798 Drake bust. A seated quarter came out of there. A bunch of Indians came out of there. A bunch of 2-centers came out of there. Shield nickels. A lot of really good things came out of there. And I'm not really even sure we've done that field to its full potential, nor that area to its full potential. But that's a really good point, Brian. That would probably be the site that I would say is the most historic that I've ever found. The only thing
how about you, Brian? I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say the only other thing that comes close is we did a home site where we found Dutch coin, Belgium coin, French coins, American coins, and I don't think there was any other. I think it was just those 4 countries.
Yeah, he said that's the only 1700s he saw coming around because he wasn't with me at the one site. I pulled a 1794 French 5-cent time out of a field closer to where I live now. And funny story about that is a couple months back, a lady posted on Facebook an old article from like 1875, which the story was about a farm just barely a mile from where I found that. And the farm owner found a 17-something flintlock rifle buried in a tree. So in that area, there's definitely some French trapping, history or something going on, and it's fairly inland. Like you'd expect that over by Detroit or up, around the UP and up part of Michigan. But to find that inland. I know I talked to Brad Martin after he had just came back from France because he had found one of those over there. And he's like, brother, I'm on the East Coast and I've never seen one of those dug here in the United States. So that was kind of a cool find. Historically, I just went a couple of weeks ago with one of my other digging buddies, and we dug this stagecoach stop, and he found some coins. He kind of like squatted down in the front yard, and I did the backyard, and so he found quite a few like merchant tokens, like early merchant tokens.
Wow, very cool.
Those are cool.
Archives and merchant tokens, we find quite a few of those, and those are nice because they predate. Our state became a state in 1837, so they weren't giving out land grants until then, and so if you find stuff that predates that, that's always kind of a nice thing. Like Chandler said, you've got what, 2 drapes now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you start getting to that real early 1800s or 17s in Michigan, you're really lucky.
Go ahead.
I love tokens. I love tokens, man. I really do. They're so unique sometimes, and they tell a story on their own,
Yeah.
Very
I do
cool. Yeah.
I'd rather find those than a coin, to be honest. Just me, unless it was a gold.
I'd agree.
Same. Hey, you said, Brian, you do a lot of your research through Maprika in those old old maps and things like that. But once you identify an area that you are going to target, how do you go about identifying, number one, that it's still, say, a field, and then number two, finding the landowner and approaching them and then gaining that permission?
So usually the process is I'll start from the township and work down. And I will, a lot of times I'll just drive the area. But I also have OnX, so I can look at it, and it's fairly recent, and see it's a field, and just do that visual. Well, even in Maprika, you can see it's a field where the house should have sat or whatever might have sat. And then through OnX, and I actually have a pretty deep toolbox of ways to find who owns that. But so generally, I do the door knock, or I sometimes, like I just had really good permission a couple months ago that the guy lived close to me, and I found him on Facebook, and I shot him an instant message, and he was super cool about it. He's like, "Can I bring my kids out there and just meet you when you want to start?" And that day I said, "I'm headed out there. You want to meet?" He's like, I'm an hour behind. Go ahead and get started. And I'd already found like a cut largie and some other coins by the time he got on the field. But me and my buddy have probably taken 10 different coins and a bunch of relics out of there, and just through Facebook, I try to be sensitive to like people feeling like you're stalking them or whatever. Most of the time, if you phone calls or stopping by, Michigan, if it's on an OnX, that it's an LLC, you can actually go to the state site and find out who owns that through that. It's all public knowledge. So there's a lot of ways. Bureau of Land Management, I do a lot of research through. That's more like back end, like who lived there. So if I found something monogrammed, I can kind of see, okay, this person that got the land grant. And that's happened a couple times where it's like, oh, this is monogram such and such, and that's the name. So,
and then you can probably date it based off of that then too.
Yes. Yep.
That's
exactly.
great.
Yeah.
Great usage there.
I think I've probably, and I don't know about Chandler so much, but since COVID, I think we do probably less door knocking. Probably more now, but like initially after, coming out of that thing, I didn't do a lot of door knocking, just out of, respect for other people and just safety and whatnot. So.
Yeah, Brian said he uses OnX. I use the same thing, right? So this is my map of the county I live in. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours of research are into that, and how many nights where it's been like, oh, it's 2:30. All right, time to go to bed.
That is so funny, Chandler. That is so funny.
The entire county was just had dots on it.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. And I mean, like the same as Brian, I was a restaurant manager. Now I'm a car salesman. So right, people interactions don't scare me. There's a lot of people getting into it who maybe don't feel confident, right? Going up to a door and saying, "Hey, here's who I am. Here's what I do." I think it's not mandatory, but it's very important to be able to have that kind of swagger and charisma about you. You know, you got 10 to 15 seconds to impress them when you get on the porch, right? If you're like, "Hi, I'm," that's already a no. You lost. Good luck. Try the next house. But if you go up there and you're confident in who you are and you talk about it, I always say I'm not in it for the money. There's not money in what I'm doing. That's usually people's first objection as well. If it's worth money, I gotta have it. No. So
that's true though. It's a great tip, being confident and stuff and learning how to talk with people. And, if you're in a group of people and one or two are better at that than you think you are or something, let them go up and talk, because it does get you a long way. Mm-hmm. I know that what's improved it for me has been this YouTube stuff. Once I started putting myself on YouTube, it's helped me kind of relate more and kind of be, and then started doing the podcast, talking off the cuff and stuff. And that has helped when I go up to knock on doors or ask for permissions, So what do you guys think? Best relic?
Ooh.
Oh man.
Easy. It's easy.
It's easy.
Easy. Oh. Rosehead square nail.
Took mine exactly.
I just stuck with those the other day. That's funny you say that.
Yeah, dude.
Am I allowed to go quick look at my bin a minute here? Can I go?
Yeah,
we'll fish some things out. Yeah,
not necessarily fish it out. I just gotta go look. I can't even.
I mean, what stands out in your mind, Brian? What do you think? Like,
relic?
Boy. Wow, relic. Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go grab it, but I was actually out of all places, even though I do mostly field hunting now. I'll say that. A buddy of mine and I were digging this park, and it's got a really beautiful stream. It actually has a spring that's where the stream originates at. And that standing permission I mentioned, where I kind of got hooked up with Chandler, is just to the north of that. So it's got some history. It was the watering hole in the early to mid 1800s for that location. Like, people came from miles around to get water. And I actually dug it's the full chain, the full amulet. It's a, like if you went to go to like a library and you needed a magnifying glass, this was what a lady would have worn. And it's got like all the stones and stuff around it. And it's gorgeous. And it was laying flat out next to that stream. And it was the worst signal. I thought it was like, a tin can slaw. And I carefully dug around it because it was a big pinpoint. And I dug it just thinking, well, it doesn't look like it's too far down, and pull out this whole necklace. And it's just gorgeous.
Wow.
Like, the guy I mentioned.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. The friend of mine that owns the metal detecting shop, he's also in our club. And I won the find of the month, that month with it. And there's a lady that used to come to our meetings. He said she would have bought this from you for hundreds of dollars, because she had one she bought in an auction, and that was her thing, right? I can't think of the name of it now. That one, just because it was intact, it was all there as it was dropped, I think. One of the other ones you asked about, like family locations, and I do a lot of detecting now because I live now where I grew up and where my family originated. And one of the other relatives, I dug a 1850s cadet sword pommel last year, like pre-Civil War, like the hilt of a sword, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. That is really cool.
So
that would have been a real top on my
insane
list.
And it was one of those fields that, my family lived there like early to mid 1800s, and then somebody else lived there and somebody else, and they tore it down like in the 50s. So there's all kinds of junk and garbage out there, pieces of aluminum, whatever. And that thing came out, all brass.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about you, Chandler? What do you think?
So I think I've got it narrowed down to at least two, we'll say, just for time's sake. One of them is that gold ring that I found, just because I've never found a gold ring, and to find one at a field home site from the mid to early 1900s with engraving on it, really cool. Super, super small ring. Like I don't really have big hands, but it doesn't even fit on my pinky. Oh, wow. That's how small it is. So it was definitely a kid's ring or a very small woman. That would be one. Or there's another one that I found actually at the site that Brian was talking about earlier that he found that I blew off as not being on the hill. I found a very old silver, I think it's some sort of suspender cover. I broke it when I was trying to clean it. It was so brittle. But it doesn't say 925. It doesn't say Sterling. It has like the actual like lion and other different makers marks on it, which I can't even track down and figure out when it was made because I don't understand the markings. I spent time on Google trying to figure it out. Can't figure it out.
How about ID Me on Facebook? Have you been on that site, that page?
I have, and I had to they were more like this marking means this marking means that, but I didn't really bring any conclusion to it.
Okay.
But it's very detailed, very intricate. I just can't figure out when it was made.
You know, Brian, you were saying that for years you've been looking after Native American artifacts. What would you say has been your best Native American artifact that it holds a place in your heart because of whatever reason?
You got 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Yeah. For something like that.
For that, absolutely.
Sure. Hey, Chandler, while he's doing that, let me ask you about strange finds. Can you think of anything that you found where you're just like, wow, that is one of the strangest things I have ever found?
Yes. I have a lot of those. It feels like it's like, what could this have possibly been used for? One thing that I found that was very strange is it's a brass seashell earring. Like it's kind of that green golden color. When I dug it, I thought it was gold, but I'm like, I've never seen and it's a clip-on earring too. So, I mean, it's not like, but it's huge. It's like probably that big, a little bit bigger than a quarter. It's like, who's wearing a brass clip-on gold seashell earring? I was just like, it's just wasn't clicking. The gears were turning, but we weren't getting anywhere. And I was like, but that's one of the strangest ones I found. I can't think of anything else that's just jumping out to me as wild, but yeah, definitely that one.
Very cool. Brian, we were just talking about strange finds, like finds that you were, that like really, really strange. But first, we want to talk about this Native American artifact that you went and grabbed. Tell us about it.
So this was found at that site where I met my girlfriend, right? And funny story, I was detecting, and nature called, and I had to go to the tree line and do some business, and turn around. And it was laying right on the surface right behind me. Would have walked right on it if I wasn't paying attention. There's my cat. But it's a what is called a gorget.
Okay, describe it because we have a lot of audio only listeners.
It's a blue banded slate gorget. It's kind of a trapezoidal with the hole in the center. All the sides are smoothed down. It's hard to see the detail unless you're like looking at it and it's wet. It shows up a lot better. It's a lot shinier, drilled both ways, with like a cane and sand, that sort of thing. Like this thing here to find it complete.
Wow. What did they use it for?
Yeah,
they wore it.
Wow. It was like a decorative
necklace
piece,
like shaman or whatever higher level Native Americans. It's very subjective. I mean, they didn't leave written records. We don't know. We just know like old hand drawings that people that first settled made of Native Americans. They had them wearing them. But I found some very similar to this online at auction sites, and it's like $800 to $1,000.
Wow.
For a piece of banded slate,
Yeah. And are the rings that are on it, are they is it the specific stone?
Yes, that's why it's called banded. Yeah. It's
Banded.
yeah, that thing is, I mean, I found pieces of them, and I have a couple of rectangular ones that I found with 2 holes, but it's not as common to find that configuration. So, and I could go get frames of arrowheads and spear points and knives, bring them, but
I'll vouch for all of those.
And I find them when I'm detecting. Last year I think I had like 7 or 8 of them.
Wow.
Arrowheads or spear points.
You got to keep your eyes open, right? Shoot.
Right.
Well,
Right
Ears
there
open
behind
and
you.
eyes open.
what's crazy about that is for as many as Brian has found, like he said, we used to detect in the same area, sort of competing. And before Brian and I started doing this a lot, I had 5 other guys that hunted with me, and we have never in any of the permissions I've had up there ever found an arrowhead. It took me till this year to find my first one.
Off the tab, you'll find more.
Right. Hey,
Yeah.
we had a question in the chat a while ago. I just had remembered here. Ohio Relic Hunter, who's actually up in Ohio. Either of you guys dug any copper culture artifacts?
I have not.
I have float copper, several pieces. In fact, when I picked this relic up or this artifact, I had to move those aside a little bit to get to it. I probably found 6 or 7 of just float trade copper that they would have made, but no kettle points, no awls. There's a guy up. I don't know if he's in the UP or toward the UP in the upper part of the lower peninsula. He's found a ton of it. Like the old.
He finds a lot.
Yeah.
That'd be
People
really
find-
cool.
It's pretty rare to find float copper down here, to be honest. So, I take that back. I have the blade of an adze, and it's broken, but that's the only one I've got.
Wow. It's amazing when you think of how old those are and that stuff is. And
yeah, good supporter of the show Copper Joe up in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
up in Wisconsin. He's in a good copper artifact type of area, and
loves finding the copper culture.
Yeah, loves finding that
Lives for
stuff.
it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Really cool. So, hey, before we go, because we're almost out of time here, Chandler, I have to ask you, of all things, how did you become a storm chaser?
Oh boy.
You've got 12 seconds. Go.
Yeah, right. I've always loved storms and meteorology, and it was. I don't even know. When I got old enough to watch the movie Twister, right? Obviously, my parents aren't going to show their kids, who are 7, the movie Twister, because that's probably not a great idea. Once I watched that, that multiplied it a little bit more, and I've always just loved it. I've always been fascinated by the weather. Anytime I was a kid, there's a storm coming in at night. I was always a light sleeper, so I was awake, just looking at the glass, watching everything, and I've just always been in it. And since 2016, I've gone out to the Great Plains every year to chase the big stuff, as well as what we chase here in Michigan. And it's really kind of like metal detecting. It just keeps snowballing and snowballing and snowballing.
Jeez.
Very
You've
cool.
been doing it for a while. Dave, Full Metal Digger in our group, in our chat, said he's a retired meteorologist, and storm chasers are the coolest.
That's right. See, Dave knows what's up. That's what's up.
That's it. People ever think you got a little screw loose though, going out there and chasing after them storms?
Yeah, not just because of the whole storm chaser thing, but they do. Everyone's like, "Why don't you go that way?" I'm like, "No, you go that way." And I tell people all the time, I'm like, "Yeah, I've just been that quarter mile away from 180 mile an hour winds," and they go, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And it just, it's how it goes.
You gotta make your way out here to Colorado. We got some storms here and there.
Oh,
I was there 2021 or 2022. I was in Colorado for a few days.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, good luck.
Comes in over the mountains, man.
Yeah. It comes over the mountains and just gets really angry sometimes. But
that's what we like.
It's fun.
Well, I wish you luck and stay safe out there, Chandler, for sure.
I appreciate it.
Tony posted the links to some links you have for the Michigan Storm Chasers in the chat. We'll also have it down below in the description. If you happen to be listening on the audio version of the podcast over on Spreaker, we are going to have it down in the links in the description as well. Guys, we're out of time, and I'm going to give you each sort of your last say here. Feel free to, do your closing remarks and, let us know kind of what you hope to get up to here in the future.
Go ahead, Brian. Take it away.
All right. I appreciate the opportunity to hang out with you guys. And talk a little bit about what we do up here in Michigan. I think I want to tack on to the conversation about Colorado. Any of the people on here that might be new, just, make sure you're doing things that you're supposed to be, because it can get ruined for others real quick. Things get closed down, parks get closed down, and nobody wants that because they never reopen. So, things in the next year, definitely want to look at going across the big pond and going to Europe or the UK. So, look forward to that maybe.
Very cool. Well, I wish you luck on that if you do. Yeah. And thanks for coming on with us. We always say our goodbyes off the air. Are you okay with that after we close down the show, hanging out? Great. Well, Chandler, go ahead. Real quick question for you real quick. Full Metal Digger says, have you ever met Pecos Hank? Pecos Hank?
I have not. I would really, really like to. I've met Reed Timmer, who was like one of the bigger storm chasers. I've met him a number of times as well. But Pecos Hank, he is like, he's such his own character, man. And that's one of the things that everybody loves about him. He is phenomenal at storm chasing. He makes his own music, and he's just a wild character. And he's kind of like the Wild Bill shooter guy. I don't know. I love him. I love his character so much. And he's just, like I say, character. That's genuinely how he is. That's his personality.
Yeah.
Excellent YouTube channel too.
Perfect.
But yeah, the stuff I'm getting married later in the year, so I'm getting excited for that. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm hoping to get something capped this year. Like I said, that's the biggest thing on my bucket list right now. Or I'd love to dig a snake buckle in Michigan too.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah.
Doing something like that would just be out of this world. I've been in a field where Confederate buckles come out, so I know it's possible. But yeah, I've got that coming up. I'm actually, while we've been on, I've got a video uploaded for the first time in almost 2 years. So that'll be fun. I've got a bunch of those kind of in the tank, ready to go, and just bought a storm chase ready vehicle today. So I have that to look forward to.
Wait! You did what?
So sorry, I shouldn't go that far. I bought a vehicle that I will be using for storm chasing. It's not like
cool.
It's not like a full out like they have on TV in the movies.
Yeah,
right?
but something you could rig out and stuff.
It's not my personal car that I'm afraid to beat up anymore. I mean, it is my personal car, but I just don't care about it as much. So.
He's telling me it's sacrificial to the storm gods. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. It's an old Police Interceptor Explorer, so whatever's going to happen to it has already happened to it. What's a couple more hailstones and tornadoes? You know what I mean?
Very cool, man. Very cool. Well, hey guys, thanks for coming on and joining us today on Relics Radio. We really appreciate having you on. You guys hang out in the green room, and we'll say our goodbyes off the air. Guys, you guys have been great. And a link to Chandler's VC Variety YouTube channel is right down below. Tony's also put it in the links here. If you want to go back and scroll down the chat, you can find the link to it. But hey guys, thanks a lot. And hang on the side, and we'll be right with you.
Cool. Sounds good.
Thanks. Good show, Tony. That was a good one.
Ooh,
man. We talked about a lot.
Yeah. I've dug in Ohio. I'm from Ohio. I've dug in Ohio, and I kind of have this, disdain for Michigan. I tell you what, the stuff up in Michigan is kind of rivaling Ohio here.
I'm surprised that didn't come out. That didn't come out of you.
I've been holding back. I noticed I kicked him out of the screen here before I said something like that.
Oh, that's going to make the after show very uncomfortable. I can see Chandler down there flipping you off right now. I can see it.
No,
Brian's
great guests, man. I tell you, they what incredible adventures. And if you guys aren't watching the VC Variety channel over on YouTube now, you got to get over there and check it out. Some really cool stuff, and follow those guys on some old stuff. I'm jealous. I want to get on 1830s.
Sure do. Shoot.
Whew.
I would love to get out there. My ex-wife is from Michigan, and I wasn't into detecting back then, but I know there's a lot of old stuff out there.
Yeah,
I mean, who else
yeah.
is from Michigan? Isn't Deej? Deej's from Michigan.
I think I think she's up there. Yeah. She's
there's a
driven
couple
down
other
to Ohio
people,
and
a
dug
couple
with
other
some people.
YouTubers.
So
Yeah. Well,
hey,
cool, man.
yep. Very, very cool.
What are you going to get up to? You said you're going turkey hunting this weekend. We talked about that before the show.
Turkey hunting. Yeah. Got some family stuff on Sunday.
Mhm.
You're getting out, but we're going to get out next weekend. I've
Right.
already, well, no, you're already gone. You're gone next weekend.
Oh, I am. Yeah, that's right.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm gone next weekend. The following weekend
all
I'll be
right.
back for, though.
Well,
Yeah. You guys just
you
have
know,
to send me pictures and FaceTimes.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't want to hear from you this weekend, but you'll
No.
definitely be hearing from me next weekend.
You know, it'd
I'll
be,
find the good stuff.
if the FaceTime comes in on your phone this weekend, you know, it's going to be something good. So you better
I'm going to
answer it.
I'll be out there with my little plate collar. I'm chirp, chirp, chirp. And all of a sudden my phone's going to go off and your face is going to be on there. We're like, oh, okay.
Maybe.
No, I hope you get out and find something good. You know, we've been out on some good permissions lately. So I know you guys are going to find some good stuff.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Final piece and we'll get out of here.
Cool. Let's see. Just thank you so much to Brian and Chandler. They phenomenal guests as always. I mean, you know, love talking stories, love listening to the passion in people's voices and what we all love to get out and do on the weekend. So we just want to really thank them for coming on tonight. I know we could have gone 3 hours or 6 hours tonight, but we got to cut it off at some point. But if you guys are interested in anything that I have going on, you can find me over on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, 5280 Adventures. 5280 Adventures. Just type it in Google. You'll find me over there. Come check me out and leave some comments for me. I love chatting with you guys and seeing the stuff and talking about the stuff that you guys are all finding. So look me up over there and I appreciate it all. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, man. Have a good night. Yeah, you can find me over on Adventures in Dirt on my YouTube channel, any of my other social media, Adventures in Dirt. I have a show every week I call The Weekly Dirt, where I show you finds from across the metal detecting world to keep you motivated and keep you inspired. You can see what other people are finding out there. It's not always about the best find, but I'm pulling from stuff I actually watch as a fan of some of these metal detecting videos, some of the cool finds I've seen, or maybe the interesting way they present them. So come check me out every Sunday on Adventures in Dirt. Everyone have yourself a great week. For those of you that are listening to the live stream or listen to the replay over on Spreaker, we see your numbers. We know you're there. Thanks for saying hi to us over there. And we will catch you next Thursday with a great show. I don't know if I'll be here or not. Tony may be flying solo, so make sure you come and support him next Thursday. But until then, everyone have yourself a great weekend. And if you're going out, go get the good stuff. Make sure you tell me about it. We'll see you then. Have a good night.
Thank you so much for listening to Relics Radio. We will see you back here next week for another exciting guest. Until then, get out and dig it all.